Traits of a successful real estate investor. Hey everyone, welcome to this week's video. Today we're talking something a little different. Normally talking about the ins and outs of commercial real estate, but today I want to talk about something a bit different, which is what are the traits that actually make a successful real estate investor? Over my years, I've seen a lot of very good and successful real estate investors and tried to aggregate what do they all have in common. You're obviously going to get different personality types. Some are going to be very loud and brash, and others are going to be quiet and conservative. You're going to get all different types of developers to guys who are buying existing buildings, land, all kinds of personalities out there. But when it comes down to it, out of the most successful ones, what are some of the core traits that I've seen over the years? And maybe you've seen it too. So let's dive into it. I got a list of seven here of traits of the most successful real estate investors. So the first one is they're emotionally level. So very important to point out, emotionally leveled, obviously emotionally stable, but what I mean by emotionally level is that they don't ride the lows too low, but at the same token, they don't ride the highs too high. You're going to get a lot of ups and downs, excuse me, in commercial real estate investing. Things are going to go wrong every day. If you're always down in the dumps as soon as something negative happens, you're going to be very stressed out. And it's the same when good things happen. You can't just be over the moon, joyous and excited. You have to keep a very level temperament. And that's something that I've seen time and time again from the most successful real estate investors. Like to say, you want to stay around a 7 out of 10, and maybe you differ between 6 and 8. So when something bad happens, yeah, we're all human. We're not robots. We're not gonna just be at a 7 out of 10 all day, every day. But maybe you're at 6 when something negative happens, and then at the same time when something good happens, hey, you're happy. You're at an 8. But you don't want to be swinging between like 2 and 10 each and every day, because that will just create a lot of stress, and it'll also affect your decision making, which is the biggest part of it. So often see trait number one is successful investors are emotionally level. Number two, good with numbers. Now, I can't stress this enough. Uh, Anyone can pull out a calculator and calculate cap rate, NOI, those kinds of things. But when I say good with numbers, it doesn't mean that you're able to add up numbers or multiply numbers in your head. A lot of good, successful real estate investors can do that. But what I really mean is understanding the numbers and what they represent. So if you calculate out a 6.78 cap rate, what does that mean? How does that actually connect with everything else, including the area, the building, and other numbers to do with the building? So not just arithmetic, but really understanding what each number represents. And that's what I see differentiates very successful investors versus just the average investors, is that the very successful ones really understand the numbers and what they mean. Usually, rookie or less successful investors will just look at a number and take it on its face value and just not question it at all. So, understanding the numbers is extremely important. Three, decisive decision making. Huge one here. Good real estate investors are decisive, and that means whether to go forward with a deal or walk away from a deal. It means they make the decision and they follow it. You don't have this second guessing. You don't have it. I see a lot where someone will put in an offer, they get counted, and then they kind of just disappear, and they're kind of neither here nor there. And number one, it hurts your reputation as someone who's flailing about. You can get a long way by just giving a solid yes or no answer. But a lot of it is just people wanting to leave room to be able to come back to it. And I say that's not the trait of a good investor. If you have a good deal on the table, you might be asking questions, maybe skeptical about some things. But once you have as much information as you need in order to make the decision, you make it, you stand behind it, and you go after it. And there's no second guessing or anything like that. So being decisive is very important. There's a lot of competition out there. And if you're not decisive, I've had it before in my past as well. I'm sure it happens a lot where indecision can often lose you deals. So being decisive is definitely a big one for successful real estate investors. Number four, manages risk. This is something that I see uh, the transition from newer investors to once they become a lot more experienced is that is risk mitigation. So what I mean by that is when you're starting out or you're maybe a bit more of a novice investor, a lot of times you're concentrating on the upside. How can I squeeze more juice out of this deal? How can I get rents up more? You're worried about how much you can make on the back end. Really, what a lot of the most successful investors do is that they look at the other side. They look at, hey, what are my biggest risks here? What are the worst things that can happen to this deal? What are the absolute worst case scenario? And how much would I potentially lose, if anything, if that worst case scenario plays out? And if they can say, hey, this is how much I could stand to lose, this is around the probability of it happening, but the upside's going to take care of itself. Yeah, you can maybe push it and get a few more points on the back end on upside. But if you can manage the downside risk, that's a formula that's going to really work well in the long term. So I see a lot of the best investors focusing on managing risk on the downside of a deal, and a lot of the newer investors are focusing on the upside and what's the maximum they can absolutely make. So that's a big one. Number five, long-term vision. So again, kind of goes back to that newer mindset of an investor. Oftentimes we're stuck in the day to day and we're doing things to get by day to day. And we're also looking at, hey, what can this deal make for me today? Or, a short period, a few months from now, what can it look like? Maybe it's a 1 or 2 years value add where you actually renovate the property, increase the rents, and that's as far as they look. But the most successful investors out there are looking decades into the future. They're not looking years, they're looking decades into the future. What is a certain property or area going to look like in 10, 20, 30 years? Is it a short-term play where you just squeeze the juice out of it and then uh, go on to a different deal? Or is this something that, hey, you're going to do the value add, but the area is also going to potentially go up in the future? So some of the best investors, and not even just in real estate, really in general business and in life, they have this long-term vision. And when they have that long-term vision, it makes it easier to make day-to-day decisions about what to do in the short term. So often see that long-term vision is a huge trait of successful real estate investors. Number six, imagination. Another one I really like. You're competing oftentimes in the same pool of properties as other buyers, and it's often those who have a bit of imagination who can look at a property and say, "Hey, it's not just the number of units and the amount of income it's spinning off. There's opportunity here to." Renovate the property to an exceptional level. Maybe it's adding parking spots and renting those out. Maybe there's amenity space that could be built or renovated, and it brings the overall value of the property up. There's so many different ways that you can get creative on these deals, and a lot of the time, what novice or even intermediate investors are doing is that they're just looking at a deal, saying, "Hey, these are the numbers. Nope, I'm good. Next one. Oh, here's the numbers. Nope, I'm good. Next one." A really advanced, successful investor is looking at each deal and they're seeing endless opportunity in multiple directions. And that doesn't mean that the deal makes sense for them, but they're looking at all these different avenues of which the value can be added to the property. So that comes with experience, but also just imagination and actually just taking the time to see what's possible. And some of the best investors I've ever seen have tremendous imagination when everyone looks at them and thinks they're crazy. um, they've actually turned out to be on the right track. So I like that one a lot. Number six, imagination. And the last one we have is problem solving. You got to be a good problem solver. And like a few of these in here, they also relate to just general business. So if you're a successful real estate investor, a lot of these traits translate to just general business and being in the business world and being an entrepreneur. But being a problem solver is huge. You're never going to go, no one's gone through a career where everything's just been great and worked out exactly as expected. But when problems do inevitably arise, how can you solve them? How can you handle them in a way that's most beneficial? And it goes even back to number six, having some imagination, thinking outside the box. So problem solving is really so applicable to many areas of real estate investing, and usually the most successful investors are really just the biggest problem solvers, whether it's solving problems with people, the property, even external factors like the area or the city. They're able to figure something out because nothing is going to be just straightforward and easy to predict. You're going to come across challenges which you had no way of knowing in advance. So that is 7 traits of a successful real estate investor. Love to hear more. Comment in the section below, and we'll see you next time.